Just to keep you in the loop, we're working through a little bit of a maintenance issue up here. I've got maintenance on board.
I don't know it now, but today's flight will not be an on-time departure. I won't even know that while boarding. For now, I'm just focusing on the runway 4 arrivals and the runway 13 departures, and how if things work out after my flight takes off, we'll be in the exact position that plane up there is in, which is why I chose a seat on the left side of the plane. There's a lot going on today, and the best way to get it all started is to enter Terminal C, the Delta Terminal, here at LaGuardia Airport. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because it's a beautiful day for flying here in New York City. Today, I'm on an Airbus A319 from LGA to PBI. Now, the A319 has a beautiful interior, but the windows are just a little bit too small for me. Sometimes I prefer those Boeings, but it is what it is. Let's go. After heading through TSA, I went right over to the big windows to check out the airport views. That's the old D terminal down there. I miss it. While the new terminal is gorgeous, I really do miss the intimacy of the old, disjointed D and C terminals, but what I do like are the many opportunities to see departing flights, like this Delta flight heading down to Miami off of runway 13. It's flying the Whitestone Climb, which is the climb I'm hoping for today. This calls for a quick right turn to the south over Flushing Meadows Corona Park, followed by a left turn to the northeast. Flights to Florida turn further left to the southwest to get to the south. Here's another plane headed to Florida, a JetBlue flight headed down to Fort Lauderdale. It's on the Whitestone Climb. The left turns after the right turn is the reason why I'll be seated on the left-hand side of the plane, so I can see the airport in the turn to the south, and it's all going to happen on this small A319, which just landed from Fort Myers. There's a lot of back and forth to and from Florida at this airport, and once I board, this plane will be heading to West Palm Beach. This plane was delivered to Northwest Airlines in 2003 before being painted in Delta's colors in 2009. You might have noticed I wasn't near where the plane is heading. That's because I wanted a nice view of the operation, so to fly, let's head on over to the 80s gates. But not without pausing to see the remains of the old D terminal on the way. Oh, and that plane is landing in the opposite direction from what we saw earlier when I was driving in. There's been a runway change. Runway 22 is now the arrival runway. Previously it was runway 4. But the runway change has no effect on departures. Runway 13 is still the departure runway. Here comes a Southwest 737 headed to Love Field. Alright, after seeing all these distractions, it's time to really head over to the 80s gates to meet my A319. My flights have been assigned this concourse a lot recently, and it's changing day by day as the airport terminal completes its build. There's finally seats down here and some of the gates are now open. When this concourse opened, the first few gates hadn't opened yet. Only the gates further out and on the right side opened initially, and the gates on the left side have yet to start their operations yet. My gate is 89 Bravo near the end. Okay, I'm here at the gate at LaGuardia. Can't wait to board that Airbus A319 down to PBI. Here she is up close. We'll be up there real soon. Well, maybe not real soon. Will we see Manhattan today on takeoff? I really don't know. I also don't know that my flight will be delayed. I'm sure, however, that we will be using runway 13 for takeoff today. I'm excited about that. Let's get on board the flight, which is showing on time. As always, this is an exciting moment, and I'm thrilled to be here. My seat is in the back of the main cabin and was chosen for the best alignment with the window to make it easy to see out. After all, A319s have small windows, so it's especially important to me on this aircraft type. Why do Airbus planes have such small windows? Didn't they know that I'd be on them a lot? I'm seated on the left side of the plane for the Whitestone Climb. Lots of planes are flying it today, and the left side often provides an airport view, and if we're lucky, we'll see Manhattan if the turn to the south is wide enough. But 20 minutes before the door closed, the captain came on with this announcement.
Our flight time today from wheels up touchdown is 2 hours and 16 minutes. Anticipating a good ride for about the first half of that, and then, as most of you are probably aware, there's a little bit of weather system moving into the southern Florida areas, anticipating a few bumps there about the latter half all the way through the final touchdown. Just to keep you in the loop, we're working through a little bit of a maintenance issue up here. I've got maintenance on board. Just as you have an emergency oxygen masks above your seat in the case of a loss of cabin pressure, so do myself and the first officer up in the cockpit. Unfortunately, there's an issue with my mask right now, so maintenance is looking to swap out the mask. They have the part in the maintenance facility, so they're running right now to go get that and bring it up here and swap those out. They're telling me it should take about 20-30 minutes or so. So I anticipate we're going to be a little bit late here off the gate. If that were to change, I'll keep you informed as information becomes available to me. It will be also give you an update here in about the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. Appreciate your patience.
He said it would take 20 or 30 minutes or so. 20 minutes is fine since our scheduled departure time is in 20 minutes, but 30 minutes means we'll be delayed 10 minutes. At 3 p.m., we reached our departure time and the door remained open. 10 minutes later, the captain came back with this announcement.
The oxygen's working, but the microphone is not, which is a requirement for me to be able to communicate with not only the flight crew, but as well as air traffic control in the event of a airborne emergency. Maintenance swapped out both the microphone and the mask, and it's still causing a really loud squeal and not transmitting properly, so they're going to try and chase the wire and see if there's some type of short in the wire and see if they can swap that out. So they're going to continue to work the problem. I don't have an update for you as to how long that is going to take at this time, but I will continue to communicate with you as information becomes available. Again, I do appreciate your patience. Thank you.
So all we do now is wait and wait and wait. The next announcement came at 3:43 p.m., 43 minutes after our departure time, saying that the problem was resolved, but paperwork needed to be done.
Eyes are crossing the T's. Once they get that done, First Officer and I will finish our safety briefings and we'll be underway. Again, I do appreciate your patience and apologize for the delay. Thank you.
At 3:57 p.m., they closed the doors, and the flight attendant came on and made this announcement.
Good afternoon, guys. Just spoke with the captain. He said we will soon be ready to be on our way. Everything is fixed. We're just waiting on the paperwork. Thank you.
Finally, at 4:06 p.m., we pushed back. That's 1 hour and 6 minutes past our scheduled departure time. There's nothing that could have prepared anyone for this, as the pilot didn't know there was a communications issue with his oxygen mask until the pre-flight checklists were completed. And, as he indicated, in case he needs to don his oxygen mask in an emergency, he'll need to be able to talk to air traffic control through his mask. I get it, because this channel is all about air traffic control, and in a strange way, I got a little excited that he mentioned ATC to all the passengers on the plane. I subscribe to communications like this, and if you haven't done so already, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Once we get ready to taxi, I'll be providing air traffic control communications between our pilot and ATC using normal mics. Communications during pushback were with the RAM controller, but now that we're ready to taxi, we can check in with LaGuardia Ground.
Hey, ground Delta 2460, information uniform with 17 Alpha, right taxi.
Who's ready?
Delta 2460 at 17 Alpha.
Delta 2460 to what ground, UC PDLC equipped or regular PDC today?
Regular PDC, Delta 2460.
Did you speak to clearance?
We got the clearance from about an hour ago for Delta 2460.
Did you call them or no?
No, we got it PDC.
Yes. All right. Just for future reference, again, just for future reference, you call them, let them know you're 5 minutes prior to push after verifying the PDC. But for now, today, it's okay. Runway 13, taxi to Zulu Bravo Papa short 22.
Zulu Bravo Papa short 22 for 13 Delta 2460.
Did you catch all of that? We were scheduled to leave an hour ago, and that's when we received our pre-departure clearance to West Palm. Our pilot did not call the clearance controller 5 minutes before leaving, so the controller said that in the future, he should call the clearance controller 5 minutes prior to pushing back. However, for today, the controller was okay with it, so he instructed our pilot to taxi to runway 13 via Zulu, Bravo, Papa, and to hold short of runway 22 since we need to get to the other side of the active runway 22 to use runway 13 full length. As we taxi out, let's listen in a bit to LaGuardia Ground Control. The controller is handling both arriving and departing flights at this real estate constricted airport.
American 2916, without delay, cross to a Golf, turn left double Alpha to follow the regional jet, traffic 2 mile final.
Cross 22 at Golf, left double Alpha, American 2916.
Yep, to follow the regional. Break up 606, number 4 in line now. Follow the Challenger up to hold short of 13, monitor tower.
Alright, we'll follow the Challenger and monitor tower, break up 5606.
And there, 5173, number 5 in line, follow the Embraer up to hold short of 13, monitor tower.
Number 5, follow the Embraer up to 13, 1517.
I am not happy about these dirty windows. I need to change my viewing angle.
Ground Frontier 3148, they told us lane 7 Bravo 42.
What did they tell you?
Lane 7.
Taxi to ramp, Frontier 3178.
Alright, ramp 317, 48.
Sorry, 3148. There, 476, monitor tower, number 6.
Or tower C in there, 5476.
American 2916, turn right, Echo, turn right, double Delta to follow the line.
Echo, double Delta, and we'll follow the line, American 2916.
So the controller has been handling a mix of arrivals that need to get to their gates and departures that need to get to runway 13. We heard planes being asked to cross runway 22. Some of those planes are not taking a direct path to the runway because their initial departure fixes are restricted and can't accommodate aircraft right away. This will not be the case for us at our initial departure fix of White. There will be no delay at all for us to take off, but as you know, we're already delayed 1 hour due to a safety issue with the aircraft itself. For now, we're just focusing on the environment in which we're operating. The plan is to keep going straight and wait when we get to runway 22. Once a plane lands, the controller will send us across the runway and put us in sequence. See that Frontier plane? You'll recall a few moments ago you heard the pilot of that aircraft. That aircraft is an arrival and has been cleared into the ramp. That flight is nearly over. We've got a while to go, of course. As we get closer to runway 22 away from the Terminal B area, the ground controller monitors the arrivals to runway 22 to determine when we can cross the runway. We won't get clearance to cross runway 22 until everything is perfect, meaning that a runway 22 arrival has passed in front of us and no one is on short final. Before crossing us, the ground controller needs to coordinate the crossing with the runway controller since he'll be putting a plane, our plane, on a runway controlled by someone else, although it will be for a brief period. Anything on a runway is considered critical, and the tower controller, who is standing right next to the ground controller, needs to be well informed. This is a carefully coordinated ballet, and in addition to the tower controller knowing about us, the departure controller has information that we'll be in the departure airspace soon. There are so many moving parts here, but we're about to come to a stop real soon. We're in a wide open area of the airport, a very critical area because of many taxiways and runways here. We're approaching runway 22 at taxiway Papa, the taxiway that Bravo leads to. On final approach is an airplane, an American Eagle Embraer, and it's behind this airplane that we will cross runway 22, and there will be plenty of room until the next aircraft touches down. Here comes that American Eagle Embraer right now, so it's time for us to receive taxi instructions to cross runway 22.
Delta 2460 at Papa, cross runway 22, put the mains on the white concrete and hold, stay my frequency.
All right, cross 22 on Papa, going to the white part of France, Delta.
So we're clear to cross runway 22 at Papa and are told to put the mains on the white concrete. That means that the main landing gear should come to a stop where the concrete turns white. The white concrete is actually where the runway 13 pier begins. Yes, part of the adjoining taxiway and runway is actually over the water, along with parts of runway 22 and its parallel taxiway. I can't think of any other airports where the controller refers to the color of the concrete to position aircraft. I also can't think of any other airports in the United States where the runway extends out over the water. The ground controller is getting ready to sequence us and hand us over to the tower controller so we can get takeoff clearance. He will have us follow an American 737, which we'll see in a bit. This 737 is approaching the runway from a different angle than us, as it went into a holding area because its departure fix could not accommodate it right away.
So 2460, number 5 in line. Sequence to follow is the American 737. You can continue on Papa. At the merge, follow them up to and hold short of 13, monitor task.
All right, go tower, following American on Papa Delta 2460.
So we're number 5 behind American, and we simply follow the line to the runway and wait for the tower controller to have us line up and wait. I'm anxious about this dirty window and the angle of the sun once we take off, since we're making lots of turns to get down to our departure fix of white. I hope I'll be able to see out and film properly. Hey everybody, Peter Masella here. Would you like your name to appear in one of my videos? Well, don't forget to check out my Patreon. There's a link in the description below. All right, we're on the tower frequency behind American, and we're waiting to get clearance to line up and wait. We're on the runway 13 pier, and American is in position by this point. With traffic on a 3-mile final to runway 22, the tower issues American takeoff clearance, and we're told to line up and wait on the 7,000-foot-long runway 13.
American 2916 traffic is at 3-mile final, runway 13, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff on 13 American 2916.
What's 2460, LaGuardia Tower, runway 13, line up and wait, traffic will land runway 22.
13 line white, Delta 2460.
Delta 2012, left Yankee left Bravo, ground point 7.
Left Yankee left Bravo, point 7. Good day, Delta 2012.
This is such an exciting part of the journey. I've waited over an hour for this. We're finally lining up on runway 13. As American rolls down the runway, there are several planes on approach to runway 22, and the tower will get us out before the next plane lands. In the meantime, the third plane on approach to runway 22 checks in.
LaGuardia Tower, get C438 on the ILS 22, 170 or greater to Greco.
Delta C438, LaGuardia Tower, number 3, continue inbound.
Number 3, continue inbound, get C438.
While this was happening, the American plane ahead of us became airborne and is instructed to contact departure control. We'll be doing that real soon.
American 2916, contact near departure, okay?
2916, we'll see you.
As we turn the corner, we can see our traffic, a Southwest 737 over the approach lights nearing the runway 22 pier. I love sitting on this side of the plane so I can see the arrivals. Even without ATC, I know we'll be getting takeoff clearance as soon as that plane lands, and I don't see the next plane on approach behind it. Let's get cleared for takeoff.
2460, traffic 2.5 out, runway 13, clear for takeoff.
13, clear for takeoff, Delta 2460.
Endeavor 5298, 48 tower, runway 13, landing from way, traffic is landed, runway 22.
Runway 13, line from way, Endeavor 5298.
2438, runway 22, clear to land, traffic over departure, runway 13.
22 clear land, good 2438.
Southwest 1666, turn left Charlie, left Bravo, ground point 7.
Left Charlie, left Bravo, ground point 7.
After we were issued takeoff clearance, Endeavor Air 5298, a CRJ 900 heading to Pittsburgh, was told to line up and wait. Let's keep that flight in mind because we're actually going to watch it pass under us as we climb. After Endeavor 5298 was told to line up and wait, the tower issued clearance for a plane on final to land, and the Southwest plane that landed was handed over to ground control. We're speeding down runway 13 and we'll fly the Whitestone climb, which, as published, calls for an immediate turn to the right to 180 degrees. Then, at 2.5 miles away from the LaGuardia VOR, we'll turn left to 40 degrees.
Delta 2460, contact New York departure today.
Departure, Delta 2462.
Let's check in with the New York departure controller located in the New York TRACON.
Departure, Delta 2460, 1000 climb, 5000, Whitestone climb.
Delta 2460, New York departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 12000.
12000, Delta 2460.
American 2916, turn left heading 330.
Left 330, 2916.
United 964 heavy, maintain 8000.
I maintain 8,000, United 964 heavy.
In our turn to the south, we're told to climb to 12,000 feet. The controller is busy and is even handling a United flight in this airspace from Newark to Naples, Italy. We're starting our turn to 40 degrees, which will point us to the northeast as we continue the Whitestone climb. This excites me since I'm on the left side of the plane. The good news for us left-siders is that we will keep this 40-degree heading for a while because the white intersection in New Jersey is just not ready to accommodate us yet, so we'll avoid making a tight left-hand turn to the south. We'll be lucky, but it's unfortunate that the window isn't clean. It's going to get bad as we turn and the sun hits the window directly, but I'll have varying views of the airport that we just took off from. Now let's turn our attention to the plane taking off behind us, Endeavor 5298 to Pittsburgh. It just became airborne and is about to check in with our controller on this frequency on the Whitestone climb. He'll be told to climb to 8,000 feet. Remember that he'll turn to the south first to 180 degrees and then to the northeast at 40 degrees like we're doing now. Here's his check-in.
Roger, Endeavor 5298, 1.2 climbing, 5000 on the Whitestone climb.
Air 5476 heading 340.
340 there, 5476.
Air 5298, New York departure, radar contact, maintain 8000.
8000, Endeavor 5298.
Now, Endeavor 5298 has a departure fixed to the west, ZIMS, and ZIMS is not busy, so the controller will eventually have this plane turn to the west, just north of LaGuardia. We'll be keeping the 40-degree heading for a lot longer than Endeavor, as Endeavor will not be on that heading for long and will be visible to us as we head to the southeast, and that plane is turned to the northwest before heading west. We're looking at the East River between Queens and the Bronx, and we can see the Whitestone and Throgs Neck bridges. Way too often, flights to White are told to turn to the left to the southwest around here and flight right over LaGuardia, but we're keeping this 40-degree heading for a little bit longer into the Bronx. Okay, it's now time for us to get a turn to 240 degrees.
2460, turn left heading 240, man your altitude, maintain 8000.
240 up to 8,000, Delta 2460.
The controller wants us to stop our climb at 8,000 feet instead of the previously assigned 12,000 feet. There's traffic in the area. Now that we're turning to the southwest, the controller is going to take Endeavor 5298 off the Whitestone climb to a heading of 310 degrees and stop the climb at 6,000 feet for traffic.
Air 5298, man your altitude, maintain 6000, turn left heading 310.
6000, heading 310, Endeavor 5298.
2460, turn left heading 240.
240, 2460.
Notice how the controller reminds us of the 240-degree heading. He likely forgot he already issued us that turn. So our 240-degree heading and Endeavor's 310-degree heading on a path to the south of us will provide us with great views of this CRJ 900 in a few moments. Unfortunately, I'm trying to focus on City Island in the Bronx on Long Island Sound, but the sun and dirty windows aren't helping me. The controller is now going to clear us up to 9,000 feet and point out some traffic to us in our 2 o'clock position on the other side of the plane at 7,500 feet. With this sun, it might be hard for our pilots to see it.
Delta 2460, maintain 9,000, traffic 2 o'clock and 4, southeastbound, 7.5 indicated, type is unknown.
Jack, going to 9,000, Delta 2460.
This blurry view should clear up in a moment as the sun is going to move to the other side of the plane. That's a really nice view of City Island down there. This is a really wide left-hand turn, going from 40 degrees to 240 degrees. It's a near U-turn, but we need to do it to get to White, our departure fix, and eventually head in the same general direction to Florida. We're looking down at Eastchester Bay and are starting to fly over the mainland of the Bronx. We're basically going around the Throgs Neck and Whitestone bridges, and LaGuardia will be seen again very shortly on this side. We are now clear of any traffic conflict, so the controller will re-clear us up to 12,000 feet. 12,000 feet keeps us 1,000 feet below Kennedy arrivals from the west that are descending in our vicinity down to 13,000 feet.
About 2460, maintain 12,000.
12,000, Delta 2460.
Okay, so on this 240-degree heading, we will see Endeavour 5298 pass under us as it flies to the northeast. Keep an eye out. In the meantime, I see a plane over the East River on final approach to runway 22. Okay, here comes the CRJ 900. See it there? Wow. Eventually, the controller will issue this plane a higher altitude as it passes under us, but as we take in this great view of LaGuardia, we're assigned a new frequency to a second departure controller.
Now 2460, contact departure on 124.75.
2475, Delta 2460.
Before we check in, look at that operation down there. A plane lifts off on runway 13 as a plane lands on runway 22. The plane in position on 13 should get takeoff clearance, and it looks like there are no departures after that. I love seeing how LaGuardia is surrounded by water on three sides and how real estate constricted it is. It's also great to see all of the new terminals down there. Can you spot our departure gate? Let's check in with the second departure controller who's working next to the first departure controller.
Hey, New York Delta 2460, 10.4, climb 12,000.
Delta 2460, near departure. Proceed direct to White, maintain your best forward speed. You're going to be number one here.
Roger, direct to White, best forward speed, Delta 2460.
And I'll get you a climb in about 8 miles here.
Roger, Delta 2460.
We're now told to go directly to White and keep our best speed forward. It looks like there may be planes behind us also going to White. Maybe the first departure should not have had us turn so wide, but this controller is in a rush to get us to White now. In this view, you can see both LaGuardia and Kennedy airports and how close they are to each other. It's been a while since I've flown to JFK, as it really doesn't provide great Manhattan views unless you're coming in from the west at 13,000 feet, as I mentioned earlier, and since I'm up and down to Florida so often these days, it's so rare for me to come in from the west. It could happen if we were to get rerouted from Florida to JFK, but it's really hard to know that in advance. Kennedy is huge compared to LaGuardia, but not my airport of choice as it's further away from all the tall buildings. Even if the runways that we're looking down at right now were in use for a straightened approach, we would fly near Manhattan where we are actually at now, but this is extremely rare and typically done on days where the visibility is really poor. But before we move forward, it's time for a message from the sponsor of today's video, Extra. Extra wallets come in a variety of shapes and sizes and colors. This one actually glows in the dark. With durable wallets and card holders, the value derived from Extra is unmatched. I always carry an Extra wallet with me, and I know I'll never lose it because I can add an air tag to it. Check out their site. They have lots of awesome products. And as a viewer of this channel, if you enter code Masela at checkout, you'll save. Visit the link in the description below. You'll be soaring to new heights with Extra products. And speaking of new heights, it's time for us to get that higher clearance that the controller mentioned 8 miles ago.
Delta 2460, climb to 17,000.
17,000, Delta 2460.
We're now looking at Brooklyn and have a great view of Breezy Point in Queens jutting out into the ocean below Brooklyn. We'll be over the water for a bit while we fly over New Jersey. The controller will eventually hand us off to the high altitude New York Center, and after White, we'll follow the flight plan all the way down to South Florida. This great graphic on the IFE screen in front of me shows the path we took out of the 5 boroughs. We're looking at the Jersey shore now, and even though the sun is setting in the west on the other side of the plane, it's still hard to focus. I'm not happy with this A319 for this single reason. It needs new windows. I pay for clean windows, not fancy seats. If you watch my videos, you know that during the en route phase of flight, I typically look out for other aircraft to film, and even though I did see some, I could not capture them in focus with my camera lens due to the dirt. Check out some of my previous videos to see air-to-air videography, and make sure you click on the subscribe button so you don't miss out on what's to come in the future. I'm so frustrated with the lack of focus, so I'm just going to speed up to the landing at PBI. Now, the weather was quite poor at PBI, so there wasn't much to see on the approach. I'll provide parts of air traffic control on the Palm Beach approach control frequency. Unfortunately, I was only able to capture the controller. Here he is telling us to expect the ILS approach to runway 10 left.
Delta 2460, Palm Beach approach, expect the ILS for 10 left.
A little later on, the controller asked us about the current flight conditions.
Delta 2460, safe flight conditions.
I, of course, could not hear the pilot's response, but the controller read it back to another pilot.
Roger. 19, that was from the Delta Airbus 319 in front of you, IMC and smooth.
So our pilot said we're in instrument meteorological conditions and the ride is smooth. I concur. I didn't feel a single bump. Later on, we were told to reduce our speed to 190.
Delta 24, speed 190.
That was followed by a clearance to 3,000 feet.
Delta 2460, descend and maintain 3,000.
Next up, a turn to 190.
Delta 2460, turn left heading 190.
That was followed by approach clearance and a handoff to the control tower at the airport.
Delta 2460, about 4 miles from your turn left heading 130, maintain 2 till established, clear for the ILS, runway 10 left. Delta 2460, maintain 170 knots until contact tower.
Let's check in for landing.
Right, tower Delta 2460, ILS 10.
Delta 2460, Palm Beach Tower, runway 10 left, cleared for.
Runway 1046.
Okay, we're on the ground. The tower will tell us to give way to that JetBlue plane that you see there and then continue on to the ramp.
Delta 2460, left on Delta, and then just give away to JetBlue, and then behind him to left on Charlie.
Delta, give way JetBlue, left on Charlie, Delta 2460.
We simply taxi on into the ramp and gate to terminate this flight, all behind schedule due to an issue with the communications part of the pilot's oxygen mask. Safety comes first. Well, that was a rainy approach here to PBI. Well, this journey is over here in rainy Florida. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't done so already, I invite you to click on the subscribe button so you don't miss out on what's coming next. See you soon, everyone.